This week, it was announced that Erik Ten Hag will stay on as the Manchester United manager after the club's end-of-season review culminated in a decision to keep the Dutchman. This comes after reports that he was to be sacked after the FA Cup final, regardless of the result. They won that 2-1. And Simon Jordan spoke this week on White and Jordan on what he thinks of this decision to keep Ten Hag on.
Here's my prediction. I don't think Ten Hag will survive the season. I think that Man United will continue in the same direction. They'll continue with the same frailties and they'll continue the same challenges. He will continue to trot out the same tripe. And then we'll find ourselves in a position in 6 months' time where Ten Hag may find himself in a situation where the mere benefit of staying on was he gets a bigger payoff.
Mm. What do you make of the decision then for United sticking with Ten Hag?
There's a few strange things that have happened, obviously, over the last few months. The club's position, as in going to interview and quite openly having discussions with other potential managers. Ten Hag being very stubborn, as in, if he left the football club, he can go to a club that he can win trophies with, and fair play to him for reminding Man United what sort of manager they've got. The only thing I find really strange in all of this, if Man United would have lost the FA Cup final, would they have sacked him? And I think they probably would have. Okay, that's only my opinion, but that's a very strange thing to do, to judge someone on 90 minutes of football. And people might say, well, they haven't judged him. We judged him on the last couple of years. But if you're going to make the argument, well, they would have sacked him if they'd lost the FA Cup final, then it was down to 90 minutes because they kept him.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And what Simon's saying there is, you just look at the fixtures, which are out on Tuesday, aren't they, Nat, next week?
Yes.
The fixtures are out, and you think United, if they have a tricky start, how long will he survive that, Man United? And also the rumours, I don't know if it's been put down in paper, but him signing a new deal, why would they do that? Why would they give him a new deal? If they'd done all this 2-week, reflection on the season, and then suddenly...
But if they don't give him a new deal, does it not look like, well, it's just, well, we'll just see how you get over the line next season?
Yeah, but as a player, if the club are not sure about giving you a new deal, they'll say, we'll make the decision next season when your contract ends. Why can't a manager be in the same position? They go, well, you've got 1 year to run and we'll see what happens.
Doesn't it send out a message to everybody else that we firmly believe in this guy? If you don't give him a new contract, then surely the players were like, well, you're not sticking around. They don't believe in you, really.
Okay, we can make that assumption, but I think United are perfectly within their rights to say, we'll talk when we think it's right to talk.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything, though, to be said, and I totally understand where you're coming from with the season as a whole, massively disappointing, the worst to ever finish in a Premier League season, finishing 8th. Is there anything to be said about actually some of the good that he brought to this Manchester United team, which some people might be saying you really are looking around, trying to find something.
What's the good? What's the good? A couple of younger players.
I was going to say. We're starting to see the emergence of Højlund. I know he wasn't through the academy, but still, we're starting to see the emergence of him. There's some positives, isn't there?
Yeah, they're very few. They're crumbs. And you could add the FA Cup final in there and say that's a positive, winning that. And he was very bold before the FA Cup final. He told the Man United fans that they'd go there to try and win it, and they will win it and bring the trophy, which they delivered. Yeah. So there's the credit to him. But if you look at the Champions League group and you look at their season in whole, they had a dreadful season. Mm-hmm. And Man United are, a flagship of the Premier League, as in the stature of their club. That's what they are. And to see them languishing 8th at the end of the season and largely being very disappointing over the course of the season, I'm surprised, Nat, that he kept his job.
Well, there'll be others that will agree with you as well. But
how mixed has it been? We're on radio.
I completely agree.
There's a mixed opinion on whether we should have stayed. Yep. So it's a real divide over him being the manager next year, from fans, from media, from the people upstairs.
And some might argue it's perhaps that there weren't that many great managers available. So maybe it was a kind of like, well, let's just stick with him because there's no one else more suitable.
No, I see that. I think
that might be a suggestion that some would say as well. I mean, Jeremy, the Manchester United fan, thank you very much for your text. He just said he's signing a new deal because his role is changing from manager to head coach. And we are going to see a lot, obviously, of managers being put by the wayside and head coaches being involved a lot more, because I think owners, especially new owners, want to have a lot more control over
recruitment,
football operations and everything. Obviously, they won that FA Cup by beating Manchester City at Wembley. Let's get to what Carl Walker has had to say this week. Speaking in the press ahead of England's opener against Serbia on Sunday, he said he was not surprised that his City teammate Jack Grealish was left out of the Euro squad. Walker said that Jack has not been good enough this season and doesn't deserve to be in the squad on merit. Should caveat that with him saying, he also said Jack would say that himself. So what do you make of what Walker had to say? Is that, if you were Jack Grealish right now, would you be thinking, oh, cheers, mate?
I don't know. I mean, if you want to own it and say, yeah, I understand where Gareth's coming from, why he didn't select me. I don't think Carl Walker's said too much wrong. I'm sure he would have asked Jack, or, you know, if I got put that question put to me, and he might say, answer it how you like.
It might not even be that, but when he was omitted from the squad, they may have shared some messages, and within that, there's been that conversation. Yeah,
I'd like to think that Carl Walker's his friend. You can quite clearly say they have a good relationship, and he probably feels a bit of pain for Jack. But also, the reality is, Jack Grealish did have a difficult season.
Yeah,
you know, he was left out. You know, the FA Cup final, he was third choice as a left winger to come. You know, Doku come on before him. So it's a bit of a reality check for Jack. Some City fans would think he's the captain of the club and maybe should be a little bit more loyal towards City and a player at that football club.
Yeah, but I think because he says, Jack himself has said that.
It does cover.
It kind of gives him the right to agree with what Jack is saying, essentially, that Jack has not had a good season.
Well, it is factual. So,
yeah. Whether you can say everybody in that squad is there on merit could be debatable.
Yeah, see, I don't know how, if I had one of my friends selected in the squad and then admitted, would I turn around and say, well, you know, he didn't do well enough? But I probably wouldn't. I'd probably defend him and say, look, I think he could have still played a part. Yes, he hasn't had his best season. He could have played his part. I know how good he can be. On his day, he's a game changer. I'd have probably gone down that road because that would be my reality.
But then if he does that, he's undermining Gareth Southgate.
No.
In a way he is, though, because you're saying, I think he could have had a role still within this squad, which... But then you're saying, well, Gareth Southgate should have picked him then, and he didn't. So you can't win either way, I suppose. And he was asked the question of Jack Grealish being omitted, and he was answering honestly. Gosh, yeah.
Get yourself in a pickle, can't you?
Oh, yes, you certainly can.
Was ist das? talkSPORT?